Okay, Rob, we're back again.
All right, sounds good.
Here we are. And today we're going to talk about credit. It's going to be another part 1 and 2 because there's a lot to cover. But first, as always, I'm going to do a little get to know you question. And I want to ask, what is something that you wish you could tell your 20-year-old self? Or in your case, you could tell your kids who are approaching their 20s. What is something you wish you knew?
I don't know if I knew it or not, but just how important an invested dollar today, how far it goes compared to now, meaning it's so much easier to save money when you're 20 than it is when you're 45. And if you can save a little bit each month in your 20s, in your early 20s, it just sets you up so much better in the future. And I know we're talking about real estate and money all the time, and we're kind of wanting to do something different. But to me, and what I enjoy talking to my 3 almost 20-year-olds and 17-year-old is about how important it is if they save their money now, how it sets them up for later. But one main thing is they have no bills now because I pay for most of them, but hopefully that's coming to an end. But if they can save it, then it helps them in the future. So that's what I tell myself.
That's awesome.
And I had people who did tell me, but I didn't listen. Maybe telling myself that or listening to that would have been the better play.
Yeah. It's hard. And that kind of dovetails into what I'm going to say, because when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about you're in your 20s, you're living your best life. The focus is on fun, right? And that's awesome. But if you could take just a little bit of time out of that best life schedule to think about what do you want to do with your life, and be intentional about it. So really take time away from the phone, away from other people, and just take some think time. And I would, something I learned about in the last few years that I wish I knew then was visualization. So, take a page from Michael Phelps' playbook. He would visualize himself winning these swimming races. And he was really focused on that. And it doesn't have to be all day long. It can be 30 seconds. So if you want, let's say you want a family and you want a house with a white picket fence, well, visualize yourself, see that house, see the white picket fence, see you bringing your newborn baby into that front door. If you want to travel the world, visualize yourself getting off the plane in Greece. If you want to, have a certain job, see yourself, negotiating deals or trying cases in court or doing surgery. So actually, see yourself doing those things and taking time away to put that into your subconscious mind. Because if those images and that emotion is in your subconscious mind is going to figure out a way to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Someone once told me that, if young couples that are getting married, if they put the amount of time and effort into planning their marriage that they did their wedding, they'd really be setting themselves up for an amazing life. So
yeah.
That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self. So
okay, perfect.
We're now that we've, dealt with all the deep thoughts of life, we're going to get back into credit. And I know we finished our last ROBcast talking about CalRE, which if you can revisit what that is, and then we can kind of go from there, what CalRE is.
Yeah, that is credit. When you're buying something from Amazon or whatnot, and they say you can make 4 separate payments or 5 separate payments, 6 separate payments on there. When you buy that, it doesn't hurt your credit score per se, but what it does do is it hurts your debt to income ratio, where you now have more payments. So if you think of it, and you had $1,000 bill on your credit card and your minimum payment was $50 a month, we only have to hit you with the $50 a month for qualifying purposes. But if you go buy that, I think we were talking about a
blender.
Yeah, but blender, wasn't it the nice blender? Yeah. If you went and bought the blender and that blender was $250, well, your minimum payment on that for qualifying purpose would only be about $10. But if you break it up into CalRE and you're making 4 payments, now it's $50 a month. You do that on several different items, that takes you, and we approved you, 30 days ago. Now we're in a much different situation, debt to income ratio wise. So it's like we talked about last week, it's new, but you need to be aware of it. And if you can, I would suggest, if you're in the home buying process, to stay away from it. So that's kind of to recap what we talked about last time.
Okay, and thanks for, you kind of broke it down even further this time and I understand it better. So thanks for that. I did notice I was, I was gonna order something on Target for pickup in Target, and I was putting my card in, and then I saw there was something where you could break up the payments. And I know my cousin had told me about, the same thing with flights. You can break up the payments, like if you're buying a ticket on Southwest or something, and like you said, just put it on your debit card or put it on your regular credit card, and that will avoid, additional paperwork and it potentially hurting your chances of qualification.
For sure. Yes.
Okay, cool. So how do credit scores affect a buyer's interest rate?
They can affect it too tremendously, and they're controlled two different ways. One by your loan or several different ways. The loan program and what the market's doing. So when most mortgage bankers, when they get up in the morning, they're checking what the market's doing and seeing what rates are doing. And I would say most of us subscribe to many different, rate watch subscriptions that tells you, hey, rates are going up today, going down today. We get a 4-paragraph thing that our marketing director or our secondary marketing manager writes out for us that tells us what's going on each day and what could move the market. So that's something that's out of my control. It's out of your control. And we can all subscribe to these, but nobody knows what the market's going to do, or they would be loaded, not be writing these emails trying to get us to pay for their subscriptions. But what you can control is your credit score, which affects your interest rate. I think you have a slide that you want to show.
Sure.
What I mean by that is, if your rate is 5%, let's say your rate is the difference between a 5% rate and a 6% rate on $100,000 is $180 a month. So if you made your payments correctly and you have a 700 FICO score instead of a 600 FICO score, and your rate is that much lower, it gives you so much more buying power. And I think so if we look at this chart here, can I speak on this chart here?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, that
Okay.
helps us to.
So one of the reasons why home prices shot up so much in 2021 and 22 is these rates were down in the 3s. And so it gave people so much more buying power. So you could have that $600,000 loan, and look, at 6%, you're at $3,500. At 8%, you're at $4,400. Well, I mean, you can,
So $900 or $800 difference.
Yes, that's a tremendous difference. If that rate was at 3%, this payment would be $2,500.
Oh my gosh.
Now
So
you're
almost a $2,000 difference.
Almost a $2,000 difference. So right now in this current market where we're sitting today, that $600,000 loan is closer to 7%. So $4,000, where it was that $2,500, 2 years ago, almost at this time. And now it's a little over 2 years. So that's what's put a kind of a damper in, slowed down the massive appreciation in homes. Mm-hmm. Now, like we talked about, we can't control that. That's the feds and that's the market. But what we're trying to do is help you maximize to get the best rate possible on the market. Mm-hmm. And to do that, you want to have the best credit possible.
Okay. One thing I just wanted to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, what I wanted to say on this slide before I go off here, this is just your principal and interest. So it doesn't include your insurance and taxes, which is typically rolled into your loan as well. So there would be, even if you had the 7% and you wanted to buy something for $600,000 and it was $39.92 payment, you have to add to that some additional monies for taxes and insurance.
Yep, correct. And those could be significant depending on the purchase price.
Got it. Sorry, I think I interrupted you. Did you have anything further to say?
No,
on that?
just how important it is to try and keep your credit in line as good as you can. And we get a lot of times people say they get a little behind on their bills and they're a little concerned, and maybe they'll call the credit companies and the credit companies will tell them, hey, stop making your payments. Stop making your payments and file for bankruptcy or a different term to kind of forgive that debt. And that might seem like a good play in the long run, but need to make sure what your goals are going forward. So maybe, if it's $10,000 in debt, maybe that's something you work on paying off, as opposed to if it's $150,000, you figure out, are you trying to buy a house in the next year or 10 years before you make that decision? You should really talk to several different people, not just that collector coming after you who wants to get their money as much as possible.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
and we see that quite a bit of people forgiving or talking and being told to stop making their payments. So
I think I know someone in the past, they didn't want to buy a house. They already had a house, but they had a lot of credit card debt, and they ended up doing one of those programs, because she was an older lady, and she heard about it and sounded like a good idea. Well, she did that, and then when they wanted to refinance their house,
yeah,
her credit they couldn't even put her on the loan, only her husband, because her credit was in such bad shape because of that.
a great point, especially right now with theoretically these being high rates. You go do that right now, and in 2, 3, 4 years, whenever they do come down, if they come down, and now you can't refinance how much money you already cost yourself because of that short-term decision. So make sure you get the proper advice and you look at the long game when someone's doing that.
Got it. And I don't think we're going to get into it today, but I know next time for part 2, we're going to talk about different things that you can do, to help generate more money outside of your regular income, to be able to use that to pay down debt.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll save that for next time. It's a little sneak
Okay.
peek. What could jeopardize a buyer's ability to get a loan while they're under contract, while they're in escrow?
And we're talking mainly credit
Related stuff.
stuff. Well, obviously, if you were late on over 30 days late on one of your payments, that's a big one. Another one we run into is before 3 days before we write the note, we do what's called a soft credit pull. And what that'll do is tell us if you've had your credit run anywhere else, and if we can see see if you pulled out any new debt. And that's another issue that comes up, where you're so excited to buy this new house, and you went and bought your washer and dryer and refrigerator at Lowe's, and you charged it all, but now our debt to income ratio is out of whack, and you didn't know, or you saw a couch at Home Furnishings and they said for you could pay it later because you were putting all that money in the house. Don't do that until we're finished with the loan process, until your loan is funded and recorded. That's our number one thing, that ability to get you a loan. That, and being late on a payment, because we'll do that soft pull at the end.
Being late on a payment, making large purchases, making large purchases,
Financing
in which
large-
you're financing large
Yep.
purchases,
Yep.
Including, furniture, car, getting in, even if you got like a Sears card or
Totally.
a new credit card. What about, we didn't talk about this before, but what I know that this has happened in a situation that I was in, and the person didn't get the loan. What about closing credit cards during the escrow process?
Yeah, that could be, that kind of really depends. And I don't know enough about it. I haven't had much of that experience. Someone might have done that and then their credit score lowered. It would depend how long that escrow period time frame was, and they had to rerun their credit, and so their score lowered. Or a lot of it would be paying off collections, and then now those collections are re-reported. So what we try and do is, if your score is good enough and you could get the loan at this point, we try and do all of that after, and we help you with that, either closing that credit card or paying off that collection that the loan didn't require you to, or getting that judgment handled.
And what you mean by that is, you have as a requirement of your loans that at the close of escrow, escrow will pay off different credit debts or things like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or we won't pay them off at all. Some loans don't require, if they're medical collections, that's a little different than a different collection. And if DU requires it to be paid off, then we need to have it paid off, and we can pay it off at the close of escrow. If we can close the loan without paying it off, then we'll close the loan and then help you figure out how to get it paid off after, so your credit's better in the future for the next time around.
Okay, got it. All right. Cool. And then this we kind of just talked about during the escrow process, kind of, things that may jeopardize your ability to get a loan when you're in escrow, when you're under contract. Any other no-nos to avoid that may hurt my credit score in general? I know you mentioned late payments, of course. What else may hurt my credit score?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. On a lot of times, if you can go to Target, you'll get a credit card, or you'll go to Sears and then Home Depot, and your max balance on those is $2,000, and you max out all those cards. It's kind of a game. You do want to have some credit out there, and you do want to have a little debt and keep paying it off monthly, but you do not want to have those cards max. What we say is a good general rule of thumb is be 50% of your max available credit. And what I mean by that is, if Target allows you a gift card or a credit card of $2,000, never have the bill be above $1,000. Always have the bill be below $1,000. That way you're below your max. And that's mainly on revolving debt. Revolving is monthly credit card debt. The reason that is, Nance, is it looks like, so you went into Target and they gave you $1,000, you immediately drove it up to 1,000. Then you went over to Lowe's and they gave you a credit card for 3,000. You immediately went up to 3,000. What it looks like is you're someone who is granted credit and you're out. You go get as much as you can as fast as you can. You're just your Capital One card, that your balance is $5,000 and you put your whole vacation, you put everything on it. And so that's where that would be.
Okay, got it. Any other things that are going to hurt my credit score? Is if I do have, let's say I have a bunch of those kind of accounts, but they're at the 50% or less mark. Will that hurt is having more accounts, is that jeopardizing my score?
I mean, if you have an exorbitant amount of accounts, but if you have 2 or 3 of those different credit cards and you're paying those and maybe a car loan, and you have your balances low and you're making the payments on time, I mean, we could back up to that. That's the number one. Don't have a 30-day late on any bill you have. Okay. But if you have just a couple of them on there, you're fine. And you also don't want to be, we get almost every day, hey, don't run my credit. My credit score is going to go down. My credit score is going to go down. Well, in the mortgages, that's not necessarily 100% true. What hurts is if you go shopping for 10 credit cards, you shop at 4 different car dealerships and they're running your credit there. That's what's going to affect you. But if you go and shop at a mortgage with us and then you want to go shop somewhere else with a mortgage, it's not going to kill you. Okay.
So am I correct in understanding that the credit gods or bureaus or whatever are less punitive when there are mortgage credit checks versus credit card or car loan credit checks? Is that accurate, or?
I don't understand the question. Sorry.
I guess I'm sorry. I guess so you had said it's not as big of a deal
on the credit checks. Yes, on the credit checks, because you're not going to go to 25 different lenders. And then generally on those checks, you didn't take out a credit card. You didn't take out a mortgage. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yes, that would be accurate.
Okay. So it's less it's less of a chance of negatively affecting, because in many cases with the lenders, you're not even taking out, you're getting it checked, but you're not even taking out any debt. Okay. Right. Whereas at the Target card and buying a car and stuff, you're literally taking out debt.
Yep. Totally.
Okay. Totally. Got it. Okay. Well, I know we're kind of shortening it up today, but we're just going to keep all this information digestible for people. So we will be back next time with part 2 on credit, and we'll give some kind of building credit strategies.
Perfect.
And anything else you want to share before we wrap it up today?
No, I'm excited about the building, a little more positive on good things to do to get your credit up, especially to tie it back into a little bit of the first time home buyer, but just anybody, on any credit card you get or any credits extended to you, car loan, anything like that, the better your credit score, the better it is for you.
Amen.
So we can maybe educate some people on that. That'd be great.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will look forward to our next time together, and
Okay.
I will see you tonight at your realtor party.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Nancy.
Okay, bye.
Bye.